And joining us now from Ottawa, the former Chief of Strategic Planning for CSIS, Canada's intelligence agency, David Harris is here. Mr. Harris, I want to thank you for joining us today and sharing your expertise with us on this matter.
Thanks, Krista.
All right, so the calls continue for the government to investigate what exactly unfolded between Mr. Deckard and this woman in the employ of China's state news agency. But John Baird, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, maintains that the whole thing is ridiculous. And you say that that kind of attitude raises disturbing questions. What are the questions that it raises in your mind?
Well, you put that attitude together with what the Prime Minister's office had said by way of being satisfied with the mere reassurances provided by Mr. Deckard that there was no issue here to even be examined. And then you add to that the fact that the Liberal Party itself seems uninclined to pursue this very far. Well, add it all up and you begin to ask whether there might not be enough skeletons rattling around in some political closets to have parties encouraged to stay away from this issue in droves.
What sort of skeletons?
Well, this we don't know. I mean, it is fairly clear that parliamentarians are at some kind of risk of the attentions of Chinese intelligence, among other intelligence organizations. And there are general concerns that perhaps the Chinese have made some inroads in party politics, federally and other reaches as well. So there is at least some speculation, some reason to be a bit concerned that possibly some folk higher up are worried that if they look in too detailed a way, too formal a way into some of these allegations, it could turn up things that might be embarrassing to individuals and parties.
What, if any, reputational issues might this whole business create for Canada internationally, particularly with our allies?
Well, you know, we rely upon our allies for a good deal of information. It's generally accepted that 80% of our foreign intelligence comes from foreign allies. And that's no minor issue when we're obviously embroiled in worldwide wars involving Islamist terrorism and, of course, other national type threats. If you wind up losing the trust and confidence of your allies, you may also lose access to some of that foreign intelligence with literally life and death implications. So it's terribly important that we approach in a responsible, clinical way any kinds of suggestions that there may have been something untoward on the intelligence level that could have occurred at significant levels of Canadian government, and that we deal with those and be seen to be dealing with those so that foreign agencies that are allied with us can continue to repose their trust in us.
In terms of whether or not something untoward went on, and you know, I've asked this question repeatedly throughout the week, though I haven't had an opportunity to put it to you. Mr. Deckard is the parliamentary secretary to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. He doesn't participate in cabinet meetings. However, you know, he would have conversations with members of the cabinet. He would participate in various question period briefings that he would take part in because he stands in the minister's absence in question period. But in real and practical terms, I mean, what kind of information could Mr. Deckard be in possession of that could create a national security issue?
Well, presumably he's going to have files and he'll have other information, including his mere presence, information derived from his mere presence among some very, very powerful people that might allow him an insight into the direction in which decision-making might be moving in relation to all kinds of significant matters, from military, technological, commercial, including international business negotiations and other things. These can be of immense value, especially in as much as they may indicate fallback positions in negotiations. There is another category of information, though, that tends to go unnoticed by the public when it comes to these issues. One of the challenges is access. Any foreign intelligence service trying to penetrate you as a country, trying to influence you, needs access. And to do that, it may be just as well to find somebody of some standing in the political life of a country who can provide introductions to other significant people. So
he's really the conduit to get to a bigger fish, possibly.
That might be the theory.
Okay, one last question for you before we let you go. We had Vic Taves, the Public Safety Minister, on the program last hour. And we asked him to confirm whether or not a briefing had taken place between Minister Taves and Dick Fadden, the head of CSIS. Because you will recall when Dick Fadden gave that what turned out to be a provocative and controversial interview last year in which he said that he had evidence that there were politicians in this country who were under the influence, general influence, of Chinese agents. He was pilloried in many quarters for making those comments. But he also said in response to the criticism that he planned to fully brief the government, and in particular Vic Taves, as to who these politicians were, and that he would name names. So Vic Taves, in the last hour, confirmed that that briefing took place. You are calling on the government to conduct an investigation into what exactly took place vis-a-vis Mr. Deckard. Are you also prepared to call on the government to name the names of all of the people that Dick Fadden was referring to?
No, I don't think one could responsibly do that because the sensitivities of so many issues are at hand in this. You may have issues of sources, intelligence methods, and so on. So it is part of the difficulty, part of the tension that we are bound and destined and fated to have to deal with.
But wouldn't those same considerations arise if there was an investigation of Mr. Deckard?
They
sources
could do.
And so on.
They could do, indeed, Krista. A superb question. The issue is going to be there. What are the terms of reference? What are the specific terms of reference that are to be imposed on any kind of serious investigation or review? And in that, we have to ensure that there's accountability, there's some kind of overview, and so that we have an objective oversight involved.
Thank you so much for your expertise today, Mr. Harris.
Thanks so much, Christy.
David Harris. He is the former Chief of Strategic Planning for CSIS, and he was joining us live from the nation's capital.